Hello, this is a short video tutorial on how to set up your email in Outlook. So first, let's open your Outlook email program, and when you have opened it, go to Mail, and then you'll see at the top in the top toolbar a tab called Tools. When you click on it, you'll get a drop-down menu, and one of the items will be Email Accounts. Click on that one, and you'll get to this screen, which is your current settings. Now you'll have two options here. I've marked it 1 and 2. The first one is view or change email accounts. If you already have an email account set up in Outlook, then it's a good idea to click on that one and go and have a look at what your outgoing server settings are, because if it's currently working, then we want to use the same settings in the new account that we're going to set up. So let's assume that you click on view or change. You see button 3, which is next. That will bring you to this screen, which lists the email accounts that you're currently receiving through Outlook. You may only have one in there, and if you do, fine. Click on change. That's the top button where I've got a red line, and that will enable you to go in and have a look at what the settings are. And the one that we're interested in is this one here, outgoing mail server. And in my case, the outgoing mail server is mail.bigpond.com because I use Telstra. If you're with somebody else, then you'll have another item there, another setting. Now the one above it, incoming mail server, that's the one we're going to change on the new one. So once you've written down what your outgoing mail server settings are, then we click on back so that we get to this email accounts window again. And now we're going to click on add, because we're going to add a new email account. So click on add. First screen asks you what type of email account it's going to be. Of course it's a POP3. Click on that. Click next. And now you come to the window that you saw before, but this time it's empty. And what we're going to do here is enter your information. The first part is your name. You can either put your first name, you can put your full name, Rick Vatner, for instance, or if you've got a handle that you want people to know you by, then you can put that. It could be Arcanum, or it could be, if you're setting up an email account for info at your domain name, you would put in there info. If you're setting up another one for accounts at your domain name, then in there you would put accounts, and so that will be the short name that people see. Underneath that, you put the full email address. So if it was your email address, or for instance in my case, it's rick@bacnetwork.com.au. If you were setting one up for info, it would be info@bacnetwork.com.au. Of course, you replace BAC Network with your own domain name. In the incoming server, if your website is hosted with us, and therefore your email is in the same location, then you put in there mail.tppinternet.net.au, because when you receive email, it's coming from our server. But when you send email, you're using your outgoing ISP. That is the company that you use to access the internet, and they would have given you a mail server address to put in there, and you probably saw it on a previous email as I showed you a bit earlier. Now, for the logon information, that is so that when you click on send or receive, your email account has to connect to our server, and so we know it's really you. It has to give us a username and password. Your username is your whole email address, so it's either rick@bacnetwork.com.au, for instance, or info@bacnetwork.com.au, whatever the email address is that you're setting up. The password will be the password that we sent you when we set up the accounts. Maybe you told us what you wanted to have as a password, and as long as we were able to get that, we would have confirmed that back to you by email. Other than that, if you didn't tell us what you wanted, then we would have allocated a password to you. Once you put it in there, the little box here that says remember password should be ticked. Once you've done that, you probably never need to know that password again, or maybe if you're going to go online, if you're going to access your webmail, which we'll talk about in another tutorial. Now, once we've done all that, we're pretty much finished, but before we go, we want to test your account settings to make sure that everything's working correctly. So click the Test Account Settings button. That will bring you to this window, and you will see these things actually happening. and as it does each task, it completes it and hopefully puts a tick on the left hand side. If you see a red cross next to any of these, it means that you haven't set it up correctly for that particular area. So you need then to click on the back button, go back to here and check what you've written in. You may have missed out the @ sign, for instance, in your email address somewhere, or you may have just typed something wrong and it couldn't log on. So once you've got all that correct and you get all these ticks on the left hand side, you're pretty much finished. So we're going to click close. But I want you then to click on this button here at the bottom right hand corner, which says more settings. When you click on that, you will see in there the name is mail.tppinternet.net.au. That's the default name that the account gives to every email address you set up. So if you set up 6 of them, they're all going to be called mail.tppinternet. And of course that's not going to be any good to you. So what we're going to do now is just replace that with your email address, so that when you see them in that list, that's here, when you see them in the list, that each one of them is going to have their own identifying name. So if you need to change anything to do with one of these email addresses, at least you can find it easily. Okay, so once you've changed that to your email address, you can put the name of your company there if you want to. It really makes no difference. You can click OK, and then you really have finished, unless of course you've got to set up some more email accounts. So if you do, settle back and enjoy it, and thanks for choosing BAC Network. Feel free to send me an email sometime, especially if you need any help or advice. Just send us an email now that you're connected. Thank you very much.